Hi everyone, this is Avdeeva here. It's Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. in Central Europe, and I'm very happy to send you my greetings for our weekly stream, saying hello to everyone. In this stream tonight, we will be moving to the wonderful, very special G-sharp minor Prelude and Fugue from book Two Well-Tempered Clavier by Johann Sebastian Bach, as well as talking about Prokofiev sonatas in general and in particular about his piano sonata number 2 in D minor. It's great to see you all. I hope you all are doing well. Hello Masatoshi. Hi Kate. Hi Annalise. Hello Alexis. Hi Topol, Hazel, Makiko, and Christian. So the G sharp minor is of course a very rare key, rare tonality, and somehow it is the mood of also of this particular pair is very singular because it's not, well, there are, let's start from the beginning. There are several points which makes this particular pair so singular. So first of all, the prelude is the only prelude, the only piece in the well-tempered clavier, the only piece in both books actually, where Bach gives us a clear link that this piece should be performed on a double manual harpsichord, because we have here the forte and piano. So we have clear indication that this, what kind of instrument should be used for this particular prelude. So this is already, this makes it really outstanding, because it's not so often basically in Bach's music that he indicates this, like, French Overture is one of those pieces where he clearly mentions forte and piano sections, which means two manual harpsichord. But of course here it is very interesting that in this prelude he gives this indication as well. It has certainly to do something also with the structure of the prelude, because it has this it's actually very interesting written. So the basic element, that's how it starts. It starts like this. So we have this forte and piano contrast already, and then we have two elements. It can be also seen a kind of, if it would not be the G sharp minor, it could be also seen as an orchestral piece, because this can be also seen as a kind of violin phrase. And here, this is already contrasting character. It has this more, I don't know, let's say, in a contrast with this very vivid, very constructive even 16th movement. This is more somehow more kind of personal reaction of the maybe choir again. So this prelude has this kind of clear energy in it, but what also makes it so special, there are many interludes where he's really, it feels like a little bit driving through the mountains, because like a mountain road, because there are so many curves and you never know where it really leads to. For instance, from bar 8 already. You know what I mean? This is really, you see different lines. It's a small curve, maybe. And then you see completely different landscape. You're coming from one key, one tonality to another, and this makes this prelude also so rich, I think, in colors. And basically it's quite big prelude. It consists of two parts. They both are repeated, and somehow maybe it already reminds on the style, or let's say prepares the style of the piano sonatas of Carl Philipp Emanuel, Bach. So this is already again looking very clear to the future. The fugue. The fugue it is in three parts, but it is again one of these brilliant examples of the double fugue in this second book. So the first subject is like this. So it is, you see, it has the time signature we have here is 6/8 notes. And actually the movement could remind in a way on maybe on a barcarolle, because for the jig this is definitely there is an option to see this fugue as a jig. I am not somehow, that's not my feeling about it. I feel it more like a yeah, it's some kind of very plastic movement, you know. That's why for me it has something more like maybe on the wave, something on the like moving on the waves like a boat. That's why barcarolle. But the 16th movement, that is a little, that is never, it's never it never stops, and this gives also a kind of feeling of being insecure, that something is wrong, something is not really stable, in this sense wrong, that there is nothing where you can really feel secure, which makes this fugue for me really very unique in its character. And that is of course the key for my thought for or my association with Prokofiev's music, because in a way it, for me, this is a maybe an example of a kind of enchanted forest, you know, this kind of lullaby, but not, it doesn't bring any relief, it doesn't bring any, it's quite scary. So there are the first part of the fugue is based on this first subject, and then actually quite unexpectedly the second subject comes. It appears in 61st bar, and this is actually this is this second subject. So this is of course connected with the counter subject, but the contrast within this subject comparing to the first one is of course this chromatic line comparing to the, and we have those two again quite contrasting, also emotionally very contrasting elements. But the second subject also, it makes it makes the world even more fragile. It does not bring any stable feeling, you know. And then in the third part of the fugue, Bach combines both subjects. Of course, it's from bar 97, and of course this second subject is in a way supporting, serving the first. But it is, in my opinion, indeed one of the rare cases in Bach's music with this very puzzling character, which I feel so much here. But I would be of course very curious also to hear your thoughts on that. I would like to say hello to people who joined us. Hi Huber, hi Martin, hello Jerome, hi Birgit, hi Jeff, hello Rolf. So I think indeed this is one of the more exceptional or outstanding pairs in the second book, and yes, I'm very happy to perform it for you now, and I'm looking forward to hear your thoughts on this pair. G-sharp minor, Prelude and Fugue from the second book. Yes, in my opinion, this is really something very unusual in Bach's works, because this mood is very actually dark, wandering through this forest, seeing so many paths which are leading nowhere. This is my feeling here about this fugue, and I was so captured by this mood, to be honest, that of course I immediately had this association with one particular piece of Prokofiev, but I think this is also something what makes this connection also with Prokofiev's music. You know, this is something, my first piece which I have ever played by Sergei Prokofiev was a small cycle which is called Fairy Tales of an Old Grandmother. Well, this is how I think it's called in English. And what those is actually, this is already actually the link, yes? So the Fairy Tales of an Old Grandmother, which is has already this kind of very ambiguous feeling, because there's four pieces, and they were so, although with the name fairy tale, but they were so scary. The music was really, really scary. And of course, knowing some of the, especially now being a little bit older than by then, and knowing that the fairy tales are not always describing some kind of magic in a good sense, there is also this kind of bad magic, if I can put it this way. And this is indeed this enchanted forest that you never know where you come to. So, however, Sergei Prokofiev, of course, many of you know that I have this indeed very special relationship to the music of Sergei Prokofiev. Somehow, I don't know, it's yeah, maybe this indeed those different sides, which the different facets which his music has, starting indeed with this magical, on one hand magical, and also sometimes very beautiful magical world, and on the same time this very constructive, very well structured kind of music, this expression also being sometimes very sarcastic, very painful, because it's yeah, because in a way he in my personal opinion, he expresses himself sometimes not in a direct way, you know, like with words, but this expression which he reaches also somehow behind the scenes, it's very, for me, is very strong and very, very moving. Yes, I see your comments now also about the black and white magic. Absolutely, as Salvatore says, the fugue is a philosophical postulate. Yeah, it's very, it has indeed something kind, it explains somehow part of the world. So yes, and that's why I was, of course, Prokofiev's piano sonatas is a very, well, it's a, they all are really unique. And well, Scriabin also did, of course, compose quite many piano sonatas, but Prokofiev was also one of the, let's say, one of the Russian composers that was actually for me also very interesting to read. I wanted to share this with you, how Prokofiev himself was evaluating the piano sonatas by Russian composers. And that was actually, that thought I liked very much, that he was saying that it was not easy for the Russian composers to find themselves in the form of the classical sonata, because this ideal form which was installed or found in the classical sonata form, somehow it was not easy for the Russian composers or Russian musicians to find their freedom of the expression in it. I think it is a very interesting thought indeed, because the piano sonatas by Tchaikovsky or Rachmaninoff or Metner, of course, it's all very unique examples, but they are somehow, indeed, they are not really corresponding with the, or let's say they're composed in a still in a this very special language, and the form sonata is sometimes very very they adapted or they adjusted to also with they try to find this combination between this expression they wanted to express in this ideal form. And for Prokofiev himself, the sonata was indeed also a very special genre, special form, and he was always saying that his Opus 1, the first piece which he published under Opus 1, was his first piano sonata, so he that was a kind of the beginning of his way, and that's why that had such a high value for him. So although of course the first sonata is maybe now not the most popular now by him, but it is very somehow it's also already showing the ways he will be going later. And I was very excited. I was really curious to know your thoughts about the Prokofiev sonatas. Which are your favorites, and also in which interpreters of Prokofiev's music you listen, who you really like, who inspires you. And I'm very happy to see that many of you, of course, enjoy. Well, I don't wanna. I didn't count, to be honest, how the competition between the sonatas ended. But anyway, the number 8 is very often mentioned. Number 6, number 7, but also number 2 and number 3. So yes, it's. I see that many of you also played some Prokofiev sonatas. Mike is saying that also he loves the number 5, the very, very unusual. Lewis said just started learning number 7, which I played for my master recital 15 years ago. That's number. Yes, this is of course a great moment, I think, to come back to this amazing piece, the piano sonata number 7. Hachen is saying that he is currently working on the 3rd piano sonata, opus 28, very condensed, intense, and full of contrasts, and it takes lots of patience. This is absolutely true. Some sections in Prokofiev's music indeed require a very, very you have to really want it, that it works, and really work a lot on that. But about the interpreters or interpretations of Prokofiev sonatas, I was very happy to see that so many of you admire the performances of Boris Berman. I had great luck during my years at the Como Academy, International Piano Academy, Lake Como, also to work with him there as he was coming and giving master classes at the academy, and I heard him teaching some of the Prokofiev sonatas, and I also had a great luck to work on several pieces with him, and his vision, his understanding of this music was absolutely unique, and the way he was also explaining it, that was so strong and so inspiring. So that was of course something also for my personal experience, for my memory, very special hours which I attended in Como as he was giving his lessons. I see that of course Richter's interpretation of Prokofiev are very much loved by you, and this is of course interesting that Prokofiev also, especially with the 3 war sonatas, numbers 6, 7, and 8, that's number 6 and number 7 were premiered by Sviatoslav Richter, and the number 8 was premiered by Emil Gilil. So I think that also in the language, Prokofiev really knew who he would imagine as a performer of these sonatas, also according to the, of course, to the musical message and to the pianistic skills. Some of you, for instance, June was also mentioning Yuja Wang. Yes, this is of course very impressive pianist in my opinion. Great colleague. So from ZV pianist, I received a comment about the third sonata in interpretation of Alexei Sultanov, who was an amazing musician, amazing pianist. Some of you are mentioning, of course, Grigory Sokolov. For me personally, one of the very inspiring interpreters of Prokofiev's music is Efim Bronfman, and not only the piano sonatas but also the piano concertos, for instance, also number 2. This is this sound, this energy, this amazing spirit which he which I feel when he performs is absolutely unique. I admire very much his interpretations of Prokofiev sonatas. Oh, hi Kacheng, I wish you a great fun with the third sonata. And of course, Dmitry Bashkirov was an amazing interpreter of Prokofiev's music. I had also great luck also with him working on the number 8 sonata, and this is he had a very special vision of the Prokofiev sound as well. This is actually something what I also received in some questions, what makes Prokofiev so special, because I think, of course, being himself a brilliant pianist, what makes Prokofiev really very special is that, or unique also in his language, although somehow maybe sometimes we have the impression that Prokofiev is a kind of, it requires lots of volume. Yes, Denis Matsuyo Francesco is commenting, right. Yes, and also Daniel Trifonov, some of you have mentioned, and of course Mikhail Plitnev, many Russian. There are also some other Russian musicians like Nikolai Petrov, who also was a brilliant Prokofiev interpreter. Also Vladimir Krainev that was my first interpretation of the second piano concerto of Prokofiev, where I was, I don't know, I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and Vladimir Krainev was playing his second piano concerto, and after this, I don't know, I was not just the word which devastated in a way, but in a positive, because this music had such an impact on me, and Krainev played it absolutely amazing. And this is coming to the sound, because Krainev also had this. I also know that that was also the way he was teaching Prokofiev. Although we often think about Prokofiev also, composer of great volume, this forte kind of brutal sound. This is actually not quite what it is. What he is intentionally wish is also, if you look into the orchestra, listening to the symphonies or the piano concertos, the number of the musicians in the Prokofiev's music orchestra is always huge, but he is always aware how precise he is actually using those instruments. So it is never kind of, this huge, massive sound. It's never massive. And also in the piano sonatas, it is not, it should be very, I think it should be very precise. It should be very transparent, which requires, of course, also very clear articulation. and this makes him very classical in another way. And actually, I was very surprised. Also now, working on the second sonata, I was very surprised that for instance, even in the last movement, there is no one single time in this last movement where Prokofiev writes fortissimo, too forte. No, never. Fortissimo, it doesn't exist. He works with the contrast, with sforzandi, with the accents, with the this kind of any kind of staccato, very clear indications, but it's never a massive sound. Salvatore is saying Sonata number 7, the Sokolov, right? And Glenn Gould, this is also a very inspiring recording, by the way. I think of this was the one of Glenn Gould. So now I would like to. Now my voice will be a little bit stronger again. So now the second sonata is composed in 1912 and is actually also dedicated to a great friend of Sergei Prokofiev, Maximilian Schmidhoff. This is also the person who Prokofiev dedicated the second piano concerto, and so they were close friends, and Schmidhoff was very much interested in the philosophy of Kant and Schopenhauer, so there was a period where Prokofiev was also very much interested in philosophy of German masters, and also was very sensitive to this kind of philosophy. And unfortunately, this friend Maximilian committed suicide in a very unexpected way, actually. And for Prokofiev, it was a huge drama which he tried to somehow to process also in the second piano concerto, which is indeed one of the most devastating pieces, the most dark pieces actually I know in all the literature I ever heard. So the piano sonata is composed right before, very close before this happened, and so it's 1912, and Prokofiev is already, he already composed the first piano concerto, so the style is already he's already, some people are sometimes criticizing that the second sonata is maybe more conservative and still in this very classical way. I think that, yes, it is the form and the way Prokofiev composes here, it's classical, but his personal marks, marks, brand marks, they are here already very clear, and he will be using them till the very end, in my opinion. So the first movement is Allegro ma non troppo, and again, some of you might remember, it's interesting actually that I'm coming twice to Prokofiev in the second book of Bach. Again, we have this non-legato here, and the first theme, the sonata, starts actually very it's not really clear what will happen, but what will happen. So we have one line. This is the first theme, and we already hear these different elements. So it's like forces which are really which are moving out of yourself, and so the great tension is being created already here. So we have this line going down here. this is actually this first, the beginning of the sonata. So please also remember these two elements of this, the two elements of the second element of this first, which is this. This is insisting, he repeats this, and this is very dissonant comparing to this diatonical beginning. We have this dissonancing contrast, which is already here. It's very audible. Yes, in the end of the page we have indeed the first fortissimo here, and after this explosion where this tension cannot be longer held, we have this. Second theme here, and this again. This has for me something to do with the clock on one hand, that it's time which you cannot stop, and then again already here this fog, this mysterious, maybe still not very mysterious, but not a very pleasant place. Maybe again this enchanted forest. This is the exposition, this very lyrical, again more diatonical theme very long melody, although also here Prokofiev divides it in smaller, very pure, very lyrical, beautiful. And then again, this is a little bit ugly, already this sarcastic, right? But it's a little bit too angry maybe. And then this development section starts. It starts with a new element. And he says dolce, but a little bit dreamy, maybe better world. section, and you see this is, I think it's a brilliant section, because Prokofiev here combines indeed all elements which we have heard in the exposition. So here we have then we have always this, right? Then the upper voice is the second theme, this one. This is this. From the first, the second element from the first theme. So this is how he combines them all in this development section, and this is again for me this this direction which he will be using also in the, especially of course in the last movement of the seventh piano sonata in the finale, that it starts very thin in a way, skinny, and then it grows and grows, and this feeling of la vie, this la vie in the which destroys you. So this long crescendo which he composed here, really also bringing those elements one after another to this structure. For me, it's absolutely great masterpiece already here. I think that this feeling of being destroyed by this force which he develops is absolutely unique. I enjoy it so much. The second movement is the scherzo, which is allegro marcato. Actually, somehow, to be honest, this sonata in the structure reminds me of Opus 31 number 3 by Beethoven, also 4 movements, also in a similar division. So the second movement also here is scherzo, kind of A minor can be heard here, very toccata-like, very motoric, very engine, never stopping engine-like. Contrasting part, I see it maybe as a dancer, but still there is something very mechanical here because of this. Because it's always tararam, tararam, the same figuration, and although it's elegant and in great contrast to the other parts of the scherzo, it remains somehow a little bit not quite natural, right? I don't know, that's what I think. I need to take some more of my tea. Yes, and now we're coming to this slow movement, which is indeed a G sharp minor piece, andante. And this is, I was mentioning that Prokofiev was also kind of Schopenhauer period. This is a very, also here somehow it's this piece is dark. It is very hopeless in a way. So we have this. This is all the connection with Bach. It has this movement, also kind of lullaby. You know this. So this movement is somehow yeah, that's what I mean with this one hand, this kind of quiet movement, as really you will bring in a child, telling him a fairy to sleep, telling him a fairy story, but it's very scary story somehow. And I always, sometimes I ask myself, because by then Prokofiev didn't experience any hard, you know, hard fate experiences or something like this. And I always, sometimes I ask myself, but this is really 1912, this is indeed very close before, of course, the First World War, but also this tragic loss of his friend, whether the artists somehow they foreseen, they feel, because they're so sensitive, they feel these things which will happen, and they already somehow express them in music. But here, this enchanted forest. Prokofiev also here uses this polytonality, because here we have the bass and it's more kind of G sharp minor, but the chords are in G major in the left hand. And of course, using two key tonalities means that it's not stable. And of course, this dissenting line, chromatic line in tracking. So remember that this is really a way to the hell. Well, the last movement is vivace, maybe kind of tarantella, 6/8 notes, great contrast. And well, I know that an American reviewer mentioned somehow that in this movie, because there are some really wild elements, like so the reviewer mentioned that some part of the last movement reminds him on a flock of mammoths running through a kind of Asian plateau or something like this, which is of course, well, I don't know whether it's about mammoths, but of course there is something really wild happening here. And yeah, this is the very furious, very music full of fire, fire which is hotter than just, you know, like a normal fire. It's like this blue color of the fire already. After the sarcastic movement, we have again the kind of reminiscence from the first movement, but already in a completely different context. of the Prokofiev Piano Sonata number 2, which is, yeah, fireworks combined with this very sarcastic element, with this very not always very nice characters in it, but it's a masterpiece in my opinion. Really, really admire it. So this was the thoughts on the G sharp minor Prelude and Fugue from Book 2 by Johann Sebastian Bach, and some thoughts on Prokofiev Piano Sonata number 2. Thanks a lot for joining. Please keep well, and yes, we see each other next week on Thursday. Please keep safe, keep well, subscribe my channel, and see you next week. Bye bye.